On that post, yeah. So I'm supposed to have my hair cut the whole time, right?
No, the people been waiting for a minute for something authentic. Came in the truth and bossed in it, made niggas recruit. Had to shed light on the false image. I.S.U.P.K home court. Now who the fuck wanna scrimmage? 2 words for salt. What is good riddance? Don't affiliate with feminist symptoms. I know you feel me, nigga. This is death threat to hip hop. You don't stop that weak shit. I'ma mix the lean with some grimlock. When the last time you heard it this wrong? What I wish for's when the earth inherited by the piss fall. Women the war, them the ones I'm taking risks for. Ain't got no picks or no cards to hold. Holy angels watch my steps and block down my soul. Can't let them leave my body cold. I know you feel me, nigga. Let the wicked weak and the meek prevail. God never been 50-50. I should now awake to sleep a cell. Let the righteous cry, silence the pretender. A rebel without a cause, as long as I remember. That's taking the kingdom, the only thing on my agenda. Can't avoid me, nigga. Middle finger to the ones that try to destroy me. Revenge of beauty, I'm a beast. I told the bitch she can't eat unless she join me for dinner. My God ain't got no regard for a sinner. I'm powerful on them like timber. I know you feel me, nigga. In the eyes of terror, I stand still. Go to work for the colony, bring it back to the anthill. Plus everything I drop heavy as an anvil. Show you how to stand like a man in this damn field. I know you feel me, nigga. Fuck the quantity, it gotta be one man win and the rest lose. Ways devastating, I'm calculating my next move. I.S.U.P.K with real niggas seek refuge. Body shot for fraud, that'll get you bruised. My niggas whole record, check your little attitudes. I came to fuck with your move on your little holiday like I'm Mr. Scrooge. Resurrected from the grave, walking from the fall. Bitches in my eyes, gripping the mic, screaming God bless the underdog down by the left. And live by that protocol, walk by faith, not by sight. Ain't no hope for getting struck. Life like never war resist. Don't get poured into a world that never left. I will endure, election will be sure, correction will be swift. No Will Smith, but I am blessed. What else would you call the killer of deception? A leader got soldiers on post in every direction. All gold like a German shepherd. Young and a restless, sweat harder like a cabinet. I know you feel me, nigga.
Purchase your tracks today.
All I ever wanted to be was a gangster.
Test 1, 2. Lord said, confession good for the soul. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made before the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made before the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. All I wanted was to be a gangster. And shot call. To be known with them niggas letting shots off. Either that or the right hand to the top door. Funny how we see better than not the lives lost. Can't be focused on the life that's hopeless. Out there pumping, not knowing the Lord again for that hocus pocus. Used to roll with niggas that cook dope with weaponry. Same ones claim they love you. I had no life in jeopardy. And I know my mother wants success for me. Was too sincere for a wicked game. Shame the Lord's name. Now we afflicted with pain. All I ever wanted was to be respected by stand up. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made before the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time. I was in danger. Decisions that I made were from the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was to be a gangster. I ain't lying, I wanted to live, but I wasn't trying. I was defiant, not knowing that this ain't how we live. This just how they design. Cause when you in the streets, you get more endemic. They don't tell you won't be on papers, ain't no restrictions. My father said a hard head to make a soft ass. I didn't care, I wanted fear when I walked past. In a place where a black man's blood is cheap, I thank the Lord for the day I was on Main Street. Pissing in the cup, back and forth to court, found in DC school. I swear it felt like I cried on that fucking porch. The Lord said, my sheep, they ain't hear my voice. Asked me why I'm UPK, I told them I ain't have a choice. They said God ain't 50-50, what's gonna come to pass? The Lord called me out the world, and that's how I really all it was to be a gangster. Little did I know, I was in danger. Decisions that I made were from the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know, I was in danger. Decisions that I made were from the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. Go ahead and hit the fan. I want power and a throne, nigga, fuck them grams. All I wanted was to be a gangster, but I was real as a righteous man. Now got the upper hand, gotta promote this brand. Correct whole multitudes until they all understand. If I can't get that crown, Lord, then put me in the hands of someone more mighty back me this hit man. Reminiscing on the pain that was felt. Shit, I was in the jail. Shit, I needed help. But you was locked up in the judge, put man on the shelf. Heavy crying, cause it felt like I was left by myself. All I wanted was to impress niggas with my grinding. Now I ain't trying to prove shit to nobody but Muhammad. Cause most these niggas lie by smoke. One time for the most high. Dear God, I hope you accept my atonement. Cause all I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know, I was a gangster. Decisions that I made from the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was decisions that I made from the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, but I was just a stranger. All I wanted was to be a gangster.
Black ones, they are 80 apiece, but everyone got some black fur. When is he going to the Atlanta trip? Okay, I'm gonna have to keep between Atlanta so we can see him in person in Atlanta. But I'm pretty sure I got one that's black with some fur. That was like 120, so you're looking at like 280 for 3 garments. I might come with a deal, maybe just 250 or something, but tell him I got to I got him, I'll hold him for and show it to him and get in Atlanta. Alright, what's our price? Alright, talk to you later, boy.
Certified priest, prophesied this my occupation. This shit I raised, they done made the truth outside. That's why we on the corner crying aloud, looking hostile. This U.P.K style, they stop now. Father's warfare, couldn't last one round. Let the oppressed rise, and let the rich mourn till the sundown. Enough with this shit, about to make it hot, hard to come down. This for my niggas with the guns and the troops there. Dwelling in peace in the Lord, call for the blood. Hey, trying to decide my death, ain't got beside yourself. Swore drawn for what you perform. How you gon' ever got to die for his lies and his dreams? Ain't got no love for the practice. No, just ruling kids. And in my father's house is feeding mansions. I got plenty bitches for being bitches. This your death sentence. I'm talking about slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah. So warn for your life, Spanish destroy my people. You gotta pay the price, nigga. You gotta hear, let them hear. Till the devils let me in this bill. Slaughter, slaughter. Now they shook for vicious words out this handbook. About to take these rappers back to school. Buffalo standing hook. They crossed the line, ain't no coming back. You became no cowards. The only thing sweet is the honey check. Righteous is the Lord. Give me rest from my sorrow. And hang down death for the devils. There's no tomorrow. Why? Cause they violence leave a man to sniff corpse. You see a flag in the band, I see horns in a pitchfork. Go ahead. So please believe it. The white man is a demon. And I ain't gonna vote for them to free me. That beat is still weak. They call the purple and spider snipes. It ain't rough like ceiling. You got this nigga on his knees. They wanna have peace. We screaming let them be. So on the hill. Slaughter, slaughter. And they do not run no lights. I destroy my people. You gotta pay the price, nigga. You gotta hear, let them hear. Till the devils let me in this hill.
The registration.
That's the police officer over there that did it. With the black on. I can't really do shit when they got me dead. I can't believe they just did this. I'm fucking. Bring it back!
Slaughter. And they do not run away and fill the world with lies. And down for your skin, down for your crime. That's why y'all for the you. So born for your life. You understand? You done been standing before this truth. You understand? We done took them all on and gonna continue to take them all on.
Ancestors on those ships who had to plead for life took us to a place where ain't never safe there. Poisoning our food to put our children up in daycare. Fresh out of slavery, still thinking that they care. Guns in the community, children can't play there. Brothers still brainwashed, we died for that same cause. Took away our history, believing that we ain't lost. Brother, I'm an Israelite, sin is like kryptonite. Brothers won't pray, no, they rob a Lincoln shit tonight. Praises to the Most High, I ain't like most guys. Eyes on the future, but I learned from a boat ride. Tribe of Benjamin, inherited on both sides. Background Jamaica, mistreated and I know why. I'm an Israelite, I'm an Israelite. Blood of an Israelite, cry for an Israelite. Going through it cause we Israelites. One Yashra Allah to all my Israelites. I'm an Israelite, die for my Israelites. Blood of an Israelite, cry for my Israelites. Going through it cause we Israelites. One Yashra Allah to all my Israelites.
From Yashra Allah, sons of the power, rise from the ghetto and Satan want us to power. The seal of the Lord is found in church towers. Never dying on my knees like no coward. Wanna be an Israelite, you gon' need more than friends. You gon' need to show you what proof to get in them scriptures. I forgot to mention, traumatized from the lynching. Homicide, we the victim, homicide the ending. Kids with PTSD, suffering symptoms, never getting treatment. Something he gotta see. Stockholm syndrome so long, that ain't a secret. That's why I die for them brothers I'm facing east with. I'm an Israelite, practice better get it right. Visions of my enemies, death flow through my dreams at night. If your mind ain't there, then we don't dream of life. Reporting live from hell, Homo Christians and Edomites.
I'm an Israelite, die for my Israelites. Blood of the Israelites, cry for my Israelites. Going through it cause we Israelites. One Yashra Allah to all my Israelites. I'm an Israelite.
Sidelines come from bitches. Catch me on the front lines, put it work in trenches. Take a show on the lecture, preparing for Armageddon. Mastering this profession of prophesying. protecting our adolescents and answering all their questions, teaching the love their reflection. No matter what the complexion, we got a common connection. A part of God's hand selection, a shot of still resurrection. Through us achieving perfection. But to give life takes sacrifice. Battle demons every fight. Short days and long nights. Let's sleep and more fights. More wisdom, more strife. Telling everybody that they wrong and you're right. I'm an Israelite, blood of an Israelite. I ride for my Israelites, die for my Israelites. We don't care because Christ paid the price, so we're ready to give their life a life for the Israelites.
I'm an Israelite, die for my Israelites, blood of an Israelite, cry for my Israelites. Going through it cause we Israelites. One Yashka Allah to all my Israelites. I'm an Israelite, die for my Israelites, blood of an Israelite, cry for my Israelites. Going through it cause we Israelites. One Yashka Allah to all my Israelites.
Shalom. This is like School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Come out 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yahanna. Since 1969, we've been teaching our people, the Lord's chosen people, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, that we are, well, the Lord's people in the Bible. You understand? The one that he has chosen that the scriptures talk about, and not some Jewish man faking and pretending to be us. Right. And of course that our oppressor is nothing more than the devil that the Bible speaks of. It's like it. Since tonight is the Friday Lashawan Qadash, or Holy Tongue, where we teach our people the language that it is that we spoke before it was so ruthlessly stripped from us by our oppressor. You know, saying his children, his children's children. So, but like every class, we're going to start out with the alphabet, with the ancient Hebrew first. Part if you could.
What's that?
So you can do your 90 days again.
You know what I'm saying? Fill apart.
You said fill apart?
It's like, you know what I'm saying? We get the same name. It's like I want you got them on.
Watch me on the one.
My bad. Hey, Ken. I was going to like I said, facts that we writing on from Central America, South America, and put them up on the same that's probably North. Yeah. That's what's when you read it. Right to left. But you go read it high. Top. I mean, hey, that's the best way to learn.
Just saying, I am the Hebrew champ, you know. Like,
Is it soft?
I say you've been practicing enough. You should be.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's like what do you say, sir? Soft, yes. Yeah, one mixed up. Look after the knot. It's one of those. So he's rushing through trying to be the Hebrew champ.
you know what I'm saying? Like, play this all the time. Like,
Right. That's what. The viewers, this is how your alphabet is gonna be written out from right to left, and how you read it. So it's gonna be A, Ba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, instead of you trying to read it Ha, Ab, Ag, Ad. Understand? Write it out and read it right to left, but when you start on the individual pronunciation, it'll be left to right, if that makes sense. Did you? You can go ahead and write out the ancient Hebrew for me, Quinton.
Spanish to keep Indians and the villages apart from Africans at all costs. Keep blacks from Africans at all costs. You know, Spanish people all prohibited the two races from living together. One is about New England area, right? It's about black in America, right? New England area, like Maine and stuff like that.
I got a highlight in mind. So I'm screening out with the class. So yes, we're talking about that. What? One thing to remember for the ancient Hebrew is they're all only going to have one character that goes with each pronunciation. I'll send a picture of it to you when I get it. Okay.
Hey, Shalom, guys. Yeah, almost got this other one. Almost. Yeah, let me see what I'm saying. Taste fun. You know what I'm saying?
And most high Christ, you should be confident in your Hebrew.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to have to eventually teach it one day, whether it's to, your rib, your children, family, students in class. You understand?
Only if I could. I think y'all should write that down.
Hey, you ain't wrong. You already know where I was going. This is the ancient Hebrew right here. You got your the ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ka, and then the characters are above them. Ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, ha, ta, za, kwa, ra, sha, tha. I got bars that you can fly.
Right, actually, like, I ain't know you had them like that, though.
And it's always important to note, for when we move on to this Assyrian Hebrew, that how it is that you say these characters, it won't change. The characters themselves might change because we got to switch them up a little bit to keep our language alive from the oppression that we were under from the Assyrians. But no matter how terrible the oppression was, we never added in different letters. We didn't add in no E's or O's, U's or J's. We kept it how the Lord made it.
Right. It's like
Go ahead.
Another thing, you know what I'm saying? It's easy. I mean, like, you might think it looks easy from watching online. You can try to remember it, but if you don't write it down, you come in, you know what I'm saying? You don't write it down in practice.
Right.
You'll never get it, you know what I'm saying? You'll never how to, you know what I'm saying, be able to write it out, you know what I'm saying?
Right. I was going to say, it only looks easy because you've been studying, because you practice.
Right.
Just like for any language. You see someone writing that chicken scratch Chinese down or Japanese, that's going to be something that is utterly confusing to you. Go ahead.
The process I had me writing on this board, I want to say since maybe the first week I got into.
No, I know.
You know what I'm saying? I've been writing on the board, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
That's how long I've been doing this. Good.
And if anybody has any questions, go ahead and type them in online. I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. And if I personally can't, I'll get with one of the mighty men above me in order to do so. Do you have any questions, sis?
Okay, I wrote out the ABCs right,
Mm-hmm.
and then these are the simple characters for. It's hard. Okay, so characters.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is characters, right?
So when you read ancient or Assyrian Hebrew, you're not going to have the English pronunciation because our original language is characters. So if you look at the Blue Letter Bible or the Mekon Memre, which that's what we use to read during the Sabbath service, it'll strictly have just these characters here. Just the characters. It won't have no English underneath it and none of that. So like for instance, Cap, would you say like Chinese writing is characters? Yeah. Yeah. So like Chinese writing, how they write all that out with all the scribbles and all that. I mean, it is definitely difficult. That's why it's important to study. Same, but like how the Chinese write their characters out up and down. Like when we write ours out, so, right to left.
Characters meaning, okay, who's the English? It would be just like letters saying a word. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go over after the alphabet. You know how to write your name in Hebrew? I don't know why I asked that. Salaki, my bad.
I mean, Quato.
I didn't mean to offend you, Kumar.
You know what I'm saying?
Was that your only question, sir?
Yeah.
All right. We'll go over after the alphabet for you.
No, it's just getting simpler. Boom, boom, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Once you write it out, boom, corner part of it out. I ain't gonna say, oh, I know exactly, but all I gotta do is write my name out and I can just look at it and tell if it's a connector or anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you want me to do it during class, I'll do it.
We're gonna do it after the alphabet.
And I was gonna say, think this is how I see the series. You know what I'm saying?
What's the difference?
You'll see. It's just the characters. The characters change up because back then we didn't know English, so we didn't have the extra stuff up there. So we simply just wrote it out in the characters. And the Assyrians, they would sit there and burn out your eyes or your tongue, cut it out, smash out your teeth, do all types of things in order to force us to forget our language, to just say, to hell with it. I'm gonna pick up, the language of the Assyrians and be done with it. So we had to change up how it is we wrote things out in order to keep it alive. Yeah, it really is. Well, that's great right there, Funfor. It might be your best work.
You know what I'm saying?
So for the viewers, that is the ancient Hebrew. Make sure you take a note of it being the ancient Hebrew, because we got two different forms of it. You go ahead and erase that though, Funfor. They should have it down by now. If they don't, they can pause the video. Saying we don't make people pay for these things, and they stay up over forever. All right. If you could, of course, space apart that second and the third line more, since you're going to have two characters for some of those. We're looking for it. I was about to say, you can use that green one up there. Say, I know we're about that black and brown, but you ain't got to keep the writing in black.
Stay black. Stay black. I like it.
Hey, most I ain't correct. Yeah, just so the viewers know that there's
no
problem. The viewers don't get confused since you have two characters for some of those.
Okay.
Well, you can go ahead and do the Assyrian Hebrew.
Okay.
You understand? What you are learning is Yiddish. You understand? The language of our oppressor. So come out a little bit more on the back of that. Yeah. I'm a little bit of a stickler.
Oh, kind of one.
Assyrian. A-S-S-Y-R-I-A-N. Assyrian Hebrew. And it's simply called Assyrian Hebrew because we were slaves to the Assyrians, so we had to change up our characters. So it's not like the Assyrians taught us this new form of Hebrew or anything.
Assyrians are those direct.
Yeah, over in the Middle East. So how you'll say them, it'll all remain the same. So you can go ahead and write out the ah, the ba, the God. The only thing that changes is the characters.
And for example, like another one, the blue letter Bible, you know what I'm saying?
Come, yeah, it's definitely helpful.
You're gonna really see the difference, you know what I'm saying? Sabbath, you can follow along during Sabbath, you know what I'm saying?
Slaggy says, I'm on a bath out of Nevada. I don't quite understand your question about why is it written with an I instead of an O. You mean why does the character look like an O? Why is how you pronounce it sound like an I? Oh, my bad. I was looking at the comments, Slacky. So for the viewers, the Assyrian Hebrew, you notice that the Ka, it has two sets of characters. So this character right here will fall, at either in the beginning of a word, in the middle of a word, or the second to last character in a word. And the second character, so like the Ka and the Ma, that'll always fall at the very end. So that'll be the last character of a word. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, sis?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure I explained it good enough.
The last.
So you only use the second characters when it is at the very end of a word. Like the absolute end of it.
The second character.
Yeah. So how you write it out is the first character is above, and then if some of them have second characters, it'll be below the pronunciations. So you got your Ka, there's the first one, there's the second one. You got your Ma, there's the first one, there's the second one. Ooh. And then you'll have it for the Na as well. You'll have it for the Tazah,
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Because I'm looking. Okay, so the way you write it out. So in front at the top of the car,
This
the
one?
first character.
Yeah.
The bottom of it is the second character.
Yep. Yeah, that's how you always write it out. Even if it's a little too
So they go together.
Huh?
Go together.
That's what we saying, man. This is gonna only be between and the word. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You would never see this at the end of a word.
Okay.
But this you would see at the end of a word. You know what I'm saying? Only at the end. You know what I'm saying? Just at the end. But look, you gotta pay attention. Look how similar they are. You know what I'm saying? That is very similar.
Very. Dang, how did we get to this?
No, it's like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, we only had to change it because if we didn't, while we were slaves underneath the, you damn right it was smart.
It's smart.
Saying we are an intelligent people.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
But if we didn't change up our characters underneath the Assyrians, you know, who were just doing such horrific things to the nation, we couldn't keep our language alive. So the Lord put the spirit on us. You know what I'm saying? He told us, you may make the ah this way. Make the ba, the ga, the ha, the wa, all the way to the tha.
Okay.
So we changed this up?
So this is...
I thought you know what I'm saying, the Yiddish changed it up.
Nah.
So
we had to change it up ourselves in order to keep our language alive. The Jewish man simply added in different pronunciations to the characters.
That's badass.
That's why there's E's, J's, O's, V's, and U's in Yiddish, or what they call Hebrew nowadays.
Right.
You understand? They didn't make up these characters. This right here is what the Lord told us to do. And this right here is how the Lord told us to pronounce these characters.
Right.
Oh, that's good right there.
You guys have any questions?
Most High Christ. Okay.
So you have one more question, sis? Or you swap?
Yeah.
All right. Just like that. Baba Kashan, can I get you for a minute?
It's like,
yeah, you was using the ancient Hebrew.
I written with the modern O, with the modern instead of O. Yeah, that's just the way it is. I mean, make it. He's just saying, why is it a O?
Oh, why is it just a regular O?
Yeah, why does it look like just a regular O?
Because I already read it.
Yeah, she just asked, why is it just a regular O?
I got you.
I mean, it's just a regular O.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that's like a universal symbol and shit.
Yeah, I guess, because ours, Hebrew would just be like over a picture, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's see, because I read that and then I read this one. Excuse me for a minute. I'll let her know. That's just how the shit is written out.
Yeah.
You're gonna ask why does the law look like a squiggly 7? It's like
It's just the way. I don't make the rules, and I don't break the rules.
Right.
The wall is like a hockey stick.
Who am I to question the Lord?
Right.
It's like it. It's like it says, what was your question?
The wall looks like a hockey stick.
Yeah, I mean that helps you remember it.
The I don't understand.
Queen Party, you got your remedial T backwards, just so you know. It's like that's what Isaiah calls it, is a remedial T. So basically,
a funny looking one?
Yeah, so basically it's a squiggly line going down this way and then a line going down the middle. It's like, like what'll really help you with learning Hebrew, sis, is downloading the Blue Letter Bible. You got it on each one. Kind of, but download that, get the Hebrew on it, and then just practice reading. And watch classes, study the alphabet so you know how to properly pronounce it and see which characters are pronounced which way. But reading it definitely is a huge study tool. So I remember being a trooper at the old school, just following along during Sabbath service, reading the Mekon Memre, trying to race and complete a word before the priest before me, so it wasn't spoiled, so I could see if I read it correctly. If that's what motivates you, that helps push you, help you learn, that's the type of things you got to do. So, but this is definitely something that a lot of our people need to constantly be studying. I'm saying we love to go and study, Spanish. Yep, that's it. Yeah, it'll teach you Yiddish. Because the what they classify as Hebrew today, they base it all off of Yiddish, off of what the Jewish man speaks. And if you look up Hebrew or Yiddish, it'll all be the same. So there'll be E's in there, there'll be J's, O's, V's, just all types of nonsense. Let me look at you, Kumpar. Let me see what you got.
One thing I just noticed, I mixed up this to ancient. Instead, I put this.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. And Slaggy, for the sister, Amana Bath out in Nevada, he's saying that the I, the character looks like an O because that's simply how the Lord made it. You know what I'm saying? It's just a circle, and that's all there is to it. He's saying just like how he made the squiggly X, or the Ba looks like a hangman's, like a hangman station, whatever the hell you call it, whenever you're playing that game. You understand? We don't question the Lord, we simply follow what it is that He has told us to do.
Is it really that small?
So you have a question, sis?
The Yah.
The what?
Is it the Yah? It's that small, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, is it really that small?
Yeah, it's a small character. It's definitely the smallest one.
Okay. It's like good.
Go ahead.
As you look,
Speak up a little bit. Come forward. Speak up.
As you look at, as it's written, also look at your, what's that called? The chart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Apparel, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the best way to help out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to look slightly different based on people's handwriting, but It's definitely a good example.
Right.
And for the viewers online, you can just go to the internet, look up I.S.U.P.K, either Lashawan, Qadash, or Hebrew, and our chart with the Hebrew on it will come up. You can simply save that image off the internet. Go ahead, sis.
It's like a little tiny tree with a question mark.
Yeah. It's whatever helps you remember. If you like to think, that's a tiny 3 with a question mark, or like a 7. I mean, do what you got to do.
You know what?
It's whatever helps you remember these characters. You understand? So like that, a squiggly X. That's a hangman station or whatever the hell you want to call it. The Ha for the Assyrian reminds me of the Ka for the ancient. You just leave a little space in between those.
Right, the car looking like a pie. I mean a pie.
Pie.
Like the
Square root.
I messed up. I meant for the Syrian, for the cop. My bad.
3. It's like a 3.
Which one?
It's like a weird looking 3. Nah.
Oh, the nah. Yeah, it's like a weird 3.
Flat 3.
You got a little. So you got like a little dip that goes in, comes back out, and goes out.
Okay.
The size like an O with the
tail.
Yeah, with the tail on it.
Top.
The eye is easy.
So
Go ahead.
I do this. Yeah, a lot of practice. But this 5 minutes is looking over it. You know what I'm saying? Every Friday, it can take 1 day a week.
That's all you need is simply 5 minutes.
It's a lot. Every week.
It's better to do it for, 10, 30 minutes, but if you can do it for 5, I mean, that's great, really.
So.
Go ahead, sis.
So it'd be easy for me once I get this down pat.
What you mean?
To get to know these characters and spelling out.
Yeah, the characters is definitely the hardest part because you have to have 2 separate sets of characters. You got the ancient and the Assyrian.
Right.
So it's great that the Lord chose not to change up how it is that we spoke our language.
Right.
You just change up how you write out the characters. So you got to definitely spend a bunch of time studying the characters. For the brothers in the school that are taking their officer's test, you know the pain of studying these characters and realizing like, damn, I mixed this one up and that one up. Oh, this one ain't even in the alphabet. I just made it up. You understand? You gotta constantly be studying.
Man, you did a good job.
Hey, I'm gonna clap that up for you, Kumar. You understand?
I watched him.
You've been doing a great job on this Hebrew, whether it's ancient or Assyrian. It's definitely an improvement. Go ahead.
I'm saying just write it out every week. Every week, that's my day. Every week.
What you gotta do?
I ain't like, man, I gotta be ready for Hebrew class.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna come out and embarrass myself. You know what I'm saying?
Makes you think I'm gonna give it to you. Why?
You know, hey, she like it. You know, hey, you. I know you want to. Cause she like it.
Is that your last point?
Come.
All right. Go ahead, sis.
All right. So there's Tazab.
Mm-hmm.
So on the
Qua.
Okay. The Qua.
Is that the one you're asking a question about?
You know what? I forgot.
All right, let's split. If you remember.
Actually, I was looking because at the top of the other ones, there's the characters at the top. Actually.
Yeah, it's a little confusing because he got them kind of close together. So you got to remember for the Ka, the first character, and the second character is under it. But in this instance, for the third row, you got the Pa, but the first character above it, and the second character under it. And then after that, it's all just one character.
Oh no.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I said you can always rewrite it after class because we got the chart up here on the wall. You can take a picture of it, So it's nothing to really stress about. It's just whenever we get into these words and how to properly say them, how to properly write them out. That's the the main thing.
Yeah.
For those of us that have physical schools in these different cities across Central America, North America, South America, England, and the islands, you understand? Go ahead, Kumar.
And it's only 5 of those. It's only 5.
Yeah, it's just a couple.
Okay, 5. Luckily. You know what I mean? I picture we had all 22.
Hey,
so lucky.
I'd surely be confused.
God damn.
Okay.
Only 5 of them. I learned a lot from you, Adawan. On that, following along with you. The day I was reading on Sabbath day.
Oh, on Sabbath?
You know what I'm saying? Like, man, it's getting easier.
That's how I learn a lot. I follow along with Officer Tarab, Officer Napatazah, Officer Lashawan, and Officer Isaiah when he was able to read.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
That's why it's really important to get into the Sabbath services, because it's a great learning tool. You understand? When you have the Hebrew in front of you and you sit there and you read it along with the reader and you think you have it right, and you see how it's actually pronounced, and you're like, damn, I got that wrong. Oh, okay, I see how it is. So there's a connector here, there's a connector there.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
Did you have another question, sis? You just pointing at the board?
Yeah.
Okay, Slaki. And for the viewers online, take a note once again. How it is that you say these characters has never changed. So for you individualites out here, following after the Jewish man, claiming to know Hebrew, actually speaking Yiddish, throwing all types of O's and J's, U's, V's, and E's up in there. You understand? You do not know the language of our ancestors. And until you come into the truth, which is the I.S.U.P.K, home of the truth, you will not know this language. And you simply learn a bastardized tongue made up of a whole bunch of different languages. And matter of fact, Kumpar, if you could, in these books right here, get me the history of the American Indians. And for the viewers that don't know, this is a great book, simply because it's a bunch of, Jewish devils that know that they aren't the real Jews, that sat there and suck out the real Jews. Sat there and this is a different book. I'm gonna have you pull from this one too. And saying that sat there and compared the similarities between so-called native Indians and the real Israelites of the Bible. Right. You understand? Whether it was culture, language, customs, history, teachings, all of that, the whole shebang. If you could stand to the side a little bit, just so the viewers online can copy down the alphabet if they're new to the class. But go to page 88. Okay. And go to the highlighted section that says "in their grief." You understand? And this is an important thing to note, that how it is that our people spoke back then. Like, this is simply a bastardized tongue, and we're going to get into it in one of these other books we're bringing out. And how it is that we spoke back then, this is how these fake Israelites speak today. Throwing throwing O's, E's, U's, J's, and V's in a holy language. You understand? A language that is supposed to be separate from these other nations. You understand? Go ahead, Kumar.
And the grief, we wailed and cried, Yohi.
You understand? So this is talking about whenever a woman lost her husband, and our people, they would have a certain period of time in which they would grieve for that man. The wives would. I believe for Israelite, for the customs that we practice as natives, I think it was like 3 years or something like that. It was longer than the Israelite customs. You understand? So when we were sitting there grieving for our men, the wives they would sit there and yell out what? The first yo you read?
Yo he.
The first they screamed out what?
Yo he.
Go ahead.
Ta wa.
Slaki. Not Yachwa. Go ahead.
Yo he ta wa.
Go ahead.
Yo ha. Yo he ta ha.
You understand? This is all just a different variation of the Most High's name, Yahweh. You understand? They were sitting there throwing in all types of, O's and E's. And is that all they threw in? O's and E's? They throwing in U's,
E's,
V's.
That was in this.
You understand?
We
were sitting there and making our own tongue some bastardization of our holy language. You understand? And that came with exposure to these different nations that we were oppressed under, through all these different lands. If you could, go ahead and get that Atlas of the North American Indians book. And go to page 72. You're saying we like to sit there and say, oh, well, Native Indians, they ain't Israel. Listen, they are our people. They were sitting there oppressing our people just like the white man was. Like, saying, but meanwhile, history itself, along with archaeology, tells you differently. That's how you know that there's only one place that has the truth of the Bible, the truth of our people, our ancestors, and that is the I.S.U.P.K. under Commanding General Yahanna. And saying if you are not in the I.S.U.P.K. and you are not in the truth, you're a very cheap imitation. Go ahead and read the third example. Let them know what page you're reading from. Atlantic Ocean, that, and then read 4.
Cowboy 72 Atlas of the North American Indians.
And so this right here, this is a book bringing up the customs of my people, of my ancestors, so-called Native Indians, before we were conquered and colonized by our oppressor. Go ahead.
Atlantic Ocean, chapter 3, verse 3.
And what the brother is about to read is essentially theories of people traveling from these different countries, these different continents to the land of America, and they're comparing the similarities between these different nations and the Native Indians. Essentially what it is that we took from these different nations. Go ahead.
You said verse 3 or 1?
Yeah, verse 3.
Egyptians to Mississippi River.
Yeah, so they're sitting here and saying that there are similarities between the Egyptians and the natives and the Mississippi River. I cut you off, Slacky. And oh no, that's it. My bad. Go ahead.
Egyptian to Mississippi River system similarities inscription.
There's similarities between our inscriptions, similarities between the so-called Native Indians and the Egyptians. How it is that we wrote out our languages, how we wrote out our characters. You're saying because we know that the Egyptians sit there and use hieroglyphs for the longest time, and Native Indians sat there and used characters until it is that we were fully colonized by our oppressor. And so this sit there and tells you that how it is that we wrote, it was clearly changed, based off of Egyptian culture and whatnot. You understand? And that's not just for the fake Israelites out there claiming that Africans are of the nation of Israel, for the Egyptology jakes out there, loving Egypt and Africa and all this other nonsense, that would sit there and say, oh, well, Africa, it was, the birthplace of the oldest civilization in the world. You understand? But yet, when you go and look at archaeology, the oldest civilization is in the Middle East. Right. You understand? So that tells you that so-called Native Indians did not originate from Africa. You understand? We didn't originate from Asia, from Europe, wherever it is that you want to claim that our people came from. You understand? You know what I'm getting at, Kumar, with the Egyptians? You should know it because it's one of the most famous captivities we've ever been under as a nation. Egypt. Yeah, exactly. You understand? This right here goes to show you that so-called Native Indians, and this ain't the only example, that's showing that there's similarities between Native Indians and Egyptian culture or customs. You understand? You get this book, you can find a plethora of them. But this right here is showing you that the so-called Native Indians were actually slaves in the land of Egypt. At one time, we dwelled among these people, and we adopted their culture, their customs, their beliefs, took their history as being our own. We did all these different type of things. And if you could, Kumar, actually read right underneath that, just so our people can see that our language changed as a nation. Libyans
to Mississippi River and Southwest language similarities.
Yes, so this book right here is letting us know that our language had, it was similar to Libyans, which is a bunch of Arabs, and who else was it? Oh, Slaki. Oh, my bad. That the Libyans and the natives in the Mississippi River area, as well as in the Southwest area, their language was similar to so-called native Indians. It's saying in this section we're reading, it talks about pre-Columbus contact with other nations, but we know no other nation sat here and sailed to America before our oppressor did.
Right.
So that tells you that we were in these different nations, that we were dwelling in their cities, that we were, sitting there thinking we were Libyans, that we were Egyptians. It's got Japanese in here. It's got the Chinese. It's got different Arabs. It's got different, nations of our oppressors. You understand? And if you could, Kumar, but only if you could, go to page 66. And this is going to let us know that our languages indeed change over time. So when you sit there and claim Yiddish is the real Hebrew, just know that there were many bastardizations of our tongue. Read the fourth example, which is genetic.
Genetic, uninterrupted.
If I could, and these examples we're about to read right here, this is a devil that sat there and tried to categorize our language into different aspects and different categories, and he came up with 4 of them. But go ahead.
Genetics, uninterrupted duration of linguistic elements from one language to another.
From what?
One language to another.
Nah, just from, just one language, no matter what.
One language to another.
I'm saying it's from one language to another. So our people originally, when, my ancestors, so-called native Indians, my Hispanic brothers arrived in these lands, when my, brothers, so-called blacks arrived in these lands, we all had one language, but it was what?
One language to another.
But it was one language to another, meaning we changed these things up throughout history. We changed them up in our different dwellings, added different pronunciations, different words, different characters. We did what we would. It's like we did what we could in order to stray from the Most High. Continue on that.
With mother language.
With what?
Mother languages.
With mother languages. The original way to speak our language, to pronounce these different characters that our people wrote out. Right. And you can sit there and Google, any language of so-called native Indians. You can Google any original language of the Hispanics, and you'll sit there and see how they wrote out in characters. You can sit there and find all the artifacts that they have found in Central America, North America, South America. You understand? But how it is that we pronounce these things change. But it's like it. Go ahead.
Count on one. Leading to daughter's languages.
Leading to what?
Daughter languages.
Leading to what?
Daughter languages.
Nah, it's the original language.
Daughter languages.
Ah, you're wrong. It all has O's and J's, U's, B's, and E's in it.
Daughter languages.
And our language was changed into leading into daughter languages. A break off from our original tongue. Right. That is what had happened over the years to our people. Right. So when you sit there and you say Yiddish is the real goddamn Hebrew, that's what the real Israelites spoke, you are a goddamn liar, and you do not know the truth. Because you sit there and you Google Yiddish, which is what the Jewish man speaks, the supposed real Jew, and you'll see that is derived from a bunch of different languages. It's got, Germanic, it's got Slavic, what they call Hebrew in it, and I believe like one or two other languages combined in it. That is a daughter language. That is a bastardization of our original tongue.
Right.
And in all honesty, it is a disgrace to our people. You understand? That's all I had to bring out in that point, I believe. It's like, let me go ahead and refresh my memory. Yeah, that's all I had to bring out in that. The what?
So kind of one.
Oh, you what?
Yeah, a little swing there.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Except for the views online. This is the Assyrian Hebrew. I'm saying it ain't no goddamn daughter language to the original language. It's no break off. It's no, stepson, however it is you want to classify it as. This is how you say the Assyrian Hebrew and the ancient Hebrew. This right here is the characters for some of them, like the ka, the ma, the na, the tazah. It's like I'm saying you have two characters. So for the ka, first one, second one. The ma, first one, second one. The na, first one, second one. And the tazah, first one, second one. It's like it. And the pa, first one, second one.
Oh. Ooh.
You have a question, sis?
So Tazah is the one that got the first and second. Tazah got the first and second? Or is it
Yeah.
Tazah?
Yeah, it's the ka, ma, na, the pa, tazah.
And
So for the tazah, it's these two. First one being on top, second one being on bottom. So, for the second one, it's simply a verse wide. For the first, for the first one, it's just a Y with a lot of extra steps in it.
yeah, a curve and
Yeah, it's a lot of extra steps.
and the bottom one got the backwards Y.
Got the backwards what?
Like a backwards Y. Like the Y. The Y is flipped, basically. Tazah.
Talking about right here?
Mm.
No, that's a tazah. Oh, my bad. I was thinking of pa. My bad. Yeah. For the second character, it's a Y flipped.
Mm.
Yeah, I was thinking of the pa. You confused me for a second.
Yeah, look.
So you got me on that one.
Nice. Deep.
I mean, it's definitely a lot to take in, but when you sit there and study, you realize that it is truly, it's something, simple to understand. Go ahead.
Just elaborating everything. So the language changed. Right? It became like a slang, basically.
Well,
When the language changed, it became slang. Cause this one.
I mean, the language didn't change though. Just the characters and how you wrote it out. So like the language, the the ba, that all remained the same.
But what you said in the book.
Oh, you talking about from the book? Yeah. So from the book, it changed. We changed our tongue from being in these other nations.
Right.
So just like whenever we became slaves in America, we started, we became Christians. We started to hate our brothers. We didn't recognize different tribes as being one with us. And saying, we did a whole bunch of different things conforming to these different societies. And doing so, you take on their language, their customs, culture. Yeah. Just like today, we speak English, but that's not what our ancestors spoke. I even put a little slang on it. You understand? Israel is the soul of the earth, but it's still not our original language. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
All right. No sign Christ. I should probably see the sign. If you go ahead and erase that.
Wow.
So the viewers should definitely have enough time to write that down. If not, they can always pause the video. So we're going to continue going over the 100 most commonly used verbs. So, Kumpar, if you could, the left, go ahead.
Oh, slide. I thought we put down salute. We got a picture of this. I was thinking of something. Like a request or something on the time. Thank you. I do the one, and then I'll think about it, see if I got any requests or any words.
All right, no sweat. Yeah, if you got any questions.
The one that the generals always say, the one you said in the earlier, something Baraka Yahweh Howard, Salakia. You said that salute, like it'd be like, I guess it's like thank you Lord or something like that. You always say, hold on, I got another one.
Where you got it?
It's right here. I got it.
You talking about the anointing prayer?
No, it's no prayers. I don't want. It's something you say. Barakatah Yahweh Ha Yahweh Shah.
Oh, Barakatah Yahweh Yahushai is bless you, Lord and Christ.
Okay, Karukan. Bless you, Lord and Christ.
So Barakatah, that's bless you.
Barakatah.
Yahweh is the Lord's name. Wa is and Yahushai is Christ's name. Barakatah Yahweh Yahushai.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? You know the generals always saying that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
You understand? Our people should constantly be blessing. You understand? And thanking the Lord along with Christ.
Right.
For all that they have done for us as a nation. Because without them, we would still simply be worldly niggas in the streets.
Right.
Saying sisters would still be out here, being whores, committing abortions, all type of wickedness.
Right.
You understand? When that's not what the Lord had intended for us. Go ahead, come
You say Lord? And Yahweh Shah?
It's either Lord or God. It's because that's like.
But Lord is God. We're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what is Christ? Is that the Lord?
No, Lord is reform. Like Lord can mean a few things. That can either mean like God, or it can mean someone ruling over you.
Oh, okay. And Christ rules over us.
But mainly, Christ is like you refer to him as like King of Kings.
Oh, okay.
So he's the King of Israel.
Like I just found out today, I got the Qadash.
So it's like whenever you say Khan, like Adawan means Lord or Sir.
Right.
So you're calling like a man like you Lord.
Above you.
Yeah.
He's above you.
He's above you.
Okay.
So it's like Sir, yes, Sir, or like I don't know, Lord, yes, Lord.
So like I just found out today that Christ was King Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like so,
Christ has had
5 times he was here.
Yeah, he's had a few reincarnations.
Right. Dang.
And so for our people to sit there and say, "Oh well, Christ was, one of a kind." He was one of a kind in his last reincarnation, but
exactly
that wasn't the only time he was on this earth.
Right. It's like it, because I was saying so. Only time he was made perfect is when he was Christ.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Right, I was confused. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you got to stay in these classes.
Right.
You got to be able to keep up. Go ahead, sis.
Okay.
Right.
What does that mean? I'm just learning.
Oh, Yasharallah, that means Israel.
Oh.
Love Israel.
That's
So whenever anyone says Yasharallah with that spelling, because you got people that throw in I's, O's, and E's, they're referring to Israel. So blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians.
Right.
So he's saying he loves blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians.
Right.
Is there any question you have?
Yeah.
All right, most I question. All right, Kumpar, if you could, let's get into these 100 most commonly used verbs. So we're right out deliver.
Like you gonna have me talking to the priest man. You know what I'm saying? So like you.
And then it's not the Zol in the Hebrew.
Nah. Ta. Zol.
Yep.
Not the Czar, no. Not the Zol.
Zol.
L?
Yep, like
You know
luck.
what I'm saying? Khan. So like, not the Zol. Like.
Yep.
Do you not the Zol? You know what I mean?
We got a few brothers that got not the Zol in their names.
I want to say that brother from Kentucky. From Las Vegas. I want to say that's his name.
Sharon Aquash.
Oh, it's like
Yeah, you way off.
I'm tripping.
But what? Not the Zal.
Okay, I'm tripping. I'm tripping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. Underneath that.
He gonna be take me to council.
Yeah, right. Underneath that, write down deliver. Oh, slack it.
Oh.
Lift up.
Lift up.
It's separate words. It's a T. No, you 12. You got a question, sis?
I don't even know how to ask this though, but God is how you write deliver in Hebrew, right?
That's how you will pronounce it. What he's about to do is So he's gonna write out the characters underneath all of that, and how the characters are written out. That's how you'll say it. We'll go over it.
So this is how you pronounce it.
Yeah, yep. That's how you pronounce it. Underneath that, write down. Oh my bad. It's Nasha'a.
Nah. Sure.
Then below that, make sure you leave enough room. Write down lift up. Oh, slacky, I'm tripping. Give.
Just take time.
Give.
Like,
Slacky. Write down give. Them breakdowns threw me off.
Right.
Write down Nathan.
Nathan. Like, what's that mean, other one? Oh, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Done.
And then go ahead and do that in the Hebrew.
It's like the thumb, right?
Yep.
I'm sorry. Salagia, is this Tazah or Tazah?
Say it again.
Is this the Tazah?
Tazah.
That's what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Dang, you know, like that. Now, like, if you could break that down, you could get really confused. I thought that was Ta.
Well, because originally you won't write out the English pronunciation. You'll write out the characters.
Right.
So you look at the characters, you'll see, okay, well, the second character is a Tazah instead of it being a Ta and then a Za.
Right. Okay, you never know, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, that's why it's definitely, we gotta definitely be constantly studying and looking at the Blue Letter Bible. You got a question, sis?
Yeah. Okay. So how he's writing over there? Is he going from the non-type?
Yeah. So if I could come forward. So originally, how you read Hebrew, it's gonna be from right to left. So this is the Na, the Za, and then the La. But since we gotta write it since we're so used to reading English from left to right, the pronunciation is gonna be from left to right. It's definitely a little confusing because the characters go and how you read them right to left, But when you got to write it out the way you pronounce it, it's left to right.
Alright, you answered that.
Hey, Most High in Christ.
Yeah, you did that. That's exactly what I need to know.
Most High in Christ.
Okay, so.
Oh, it's a lot.
Wrote out.
But the connections are the one too.
Most High in Christ. I'll say in the viewers online and for the sister, the ancient Hebrew, whenever you read it or write it, they're always going to have these connectors. And these connectors decide basically when it is that you're going to drop an A on one of these. It's going to connect two pronunciations. So you got the tazah and you got the la, but you see that there's connectors on them. So you got the tazah and then just a L. And the connectors, like without a doubt, for most of the time, will always fall at the end of a word. It's very rare it'll be in the middle or the beginning, but that's why it's important to study the Hebrew and learn how it is to say words. So you can sit there and read it and be like, okay, well, this doesn't sound right. This does sound right. So I'm gonna go with this, and if I get corrected, I'll know what's the proper way to say it. Go ahead.
So you said the connector is based on the A or
no? It's the connectors will, for a majority of the time, be at the end of a word. So the last two characters will be connected.
So the L need an A. Is that right?
So whenever two characters are connected, the last character will always drop that A. So you see you got this loop connecting the two of these,
right? And
if you didn't drop the A, it'd be not the Zala, which doesn't even sound right. You know what I'm saying? Not the Zala.
So the connectors are for
dropping, it's dropping the A. It lets you know when it is that a word ends.
Okay.
And then the Assyrian Hebrew, it doesn't have any connectors.
Okay.
So it's just the ancient that has them. So whenever it is that World War III is popping off and we got to sit there and separate as a nation and we go back into the wilderness, we'll be writing out this ancient Hebrew right here. But for right now, we read the Assyrian Hebrew because that's all that is, provided to us as a people.
Okay.
If that answers all your questions.
Yep.
Most High in Christ. So go ahead and finish up with your Assyrian Hebrew. Part. You mixed up for your ancient on the Nathan.
Oh, it's a lot, y'all. Shit. I know. A lot.
Nope. That one was right. It was the other one.
Ancient. I'm tripping now. Like. Done. A lot. Just a lot.
There you go.
Okay.
On that one, that was great from far. Go ahead, sis.
Okay, so you did both, right?
Yeah, you did the ancient Hebrew as well as the Assyrian. So, like I said before, the ancient Hebrew will have the connectors underneath them. Usually when we write it out, we'll start with the ancient on the right, the Assyrian on the left. The Assyrian has no connectors underneath them.
I can do this.
Oh, you can definitely do it. So if we can sit there and learn, Russian and Chinese, Japanese, all these different heathen languages, we can learn our original tongue as a people.
Right.
We just got to set our minds to it. We got to want to be able to take back our culture and our customs, our history.
This is easy. This is the easy
Most
part.
High in Christ.
This is easy. I can get this right here.
Oh,
I want to be the next month.
You can definitely get it.
Okay.
It's saying any of our people watching these classes, you can without a doubt get our original language. Saying English is supposed to be one of the most difficult languages out there to learn.
Right.
Saying if you can get English and you stack on top of that whatever foreign language it is that you take in school, I mean, you should easily be able to get this Hebrew.
Right. Right.
And just don't make it more complicated than it has to be. Go ahead, sis.
Oh, awesome.
What, you got a question about the connectors?
Not really. So, okay. Yeah, the one is like that, one is kind of
So
the other way.
So the one that goes like down like that, that'll tell you that you'll leave that character right there alone. And the one that loops up, connecting two different ones, I mean, that tells you they're connected. So that means you'll have to drop an A in one of them, which will be the one at the end of it. For the most part, I've seen a few times where you drop the A, it'll be, you know, the one more towards the middle. But it's super rare. That's why it's important to learn a language, so you know, like, okay, I dropped the character for this. I mean, it's like I dropped the A for this, but not for that. You know, you gotta really learn how to pronounce these different words. Yeah, connectors is really almost the hardest part about our language, especially because you can constantly study the characters themselves, but you can't really, like, if you look at the alphabet, you can't really study the connectors because there are none. You don't have, like, it doesn't lay out words for you. That's why you got to read, you got to learn from our classes, you know, how to properly say words, and that alone will tell you, okay, I dropped this A, these two characters are connected.
Like I was just looking at the standard vote, so I need to go on arrow chain.
I already had one, but I got Maria put it on.
Whole bow and arrow.
Hey, wait till I get this new chain.
Hey,
I'm gonna be taking a counsel for I say I'm gonna go ahead and hand the class over to Trooper Kumapar to read the security announcements. If you view online, you can still write this down. You can pause the video, do what you gotta do in order to get these different pronunciations so that you can properly learn how to speak our language. Go ahead, Kumapar.
tell God. I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves with the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Ties, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 to 21. Malachi 3 and 8 to 10 means 10th in Hebrew. Masariah, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocation. the Passover was still to be denounced. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirts, pants, headband, scarf, and with that, a majum, which means to rise, to stand, what punk will have for dumb, which means turn and face to east. Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Abanahu, Shabbat Shemayim, Qadash, Hayya, Shimka, Yahweh, Malakaka, Taba'ah, Ratazayaka, Hayya, I.S.U.P.K, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Hayya, Bashamayim, Nathan, Lakam, Call, Yawam, what's a luck with Noah? Cover what with Noah? Walla'ah, double yay Noah. Look Hamalakut, Walla'ah, Wad the part, La'alayim, The Lord's Prayer in the English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. In earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our debts. As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. So be it. Hakat, the power in Hebrew. Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Baba Kasha. Nathamanawa. Hakat. La Rabah. Call Makala. We'll call Madawa. Hakat. Let the heart. Hamatazarayim. Hakat. Hakwathium. Hamatazayan.
Hamatazarayim. Hamatazarayim.
Hamathium. Hakat. Arakawath. Hatama'ala. Lagoshan. Bahashim. Yahushua. The water. The prayer for the power in the English. Yahweh. In the name of Yahushua. Please give us the power. The power to heal. All manner of sickness. And all manner of disease. The power to cleanse the leper. The power to raise the dead. The power against unclean spirits. To cast them out. In the name of Yahushua. Thank you. So be it. Bless me in Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh. Wa Yahushua. Wa Maka'ala. Wa Lahayim. Matazayah. Alawaf Yohana. Ha'alawathium. Ha'asarayim. Ha'kwatasayanyim. Ha'kayayanyim. Wahakwathian.
Wahakwathian.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Bahashim.
Bahashim.
Yahushua.
Yahushua.
The one among.
The one among. The prayer for the blessings in the English. Bless you, Yahweh.
Bless you, Yahweh.
And Yahushua.
And Yahushua.
And Michael.
And Michael.
And the angels.
And the angels.
Commanding General Yahanna.
Commanding General Yahanna.
The general.
The generals.
The captain.
The captains.
The officers.
The officers.
And the troopers.
And the troopers.
And the sisters.
And the sisters.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahushua.
And Yahushua.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be.
So be it.
The anointing prayers in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Why is Shemarka?
Why is Shemarka?
Yah Yahweh.
Yah Yahweh.
Panyahu.
Panyahu.
Al-Yaka.
Ayaka.
Wayakumka.
Wayakumka.
Yasha'ah Yahweh.
Yasha'ah Yahweh.
Panyahu.
Panyahu.
Al-Yaka.
Ayaka.
Wayasham.
Wayasham.
Laka.
Laka.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Bashim Yahusha.
Bashim Yahusha.
Barak.
Barak.
Rapah.
Rapah.
Magan.
Magan.
Hagan.
Hagan.
All the strength of Israel.
All the strength of Israel.
The McClatchy family.
The McClatchy family.
The Young family.
The Young family.
The Nix family.
The Nix family.
The Cannon family.
The Cannon family.
All the destroyed of Israel.
All the destroyed of Israel.
Done.
All the destroyed of Israel.
All the destroyed of Israel.
Done.
The Townsend family.
The Townsend family.
The Dixon family.
The Dixon family.
The Hall family.
The Hall family.
Tucker family.
The Tucker family.
Say at the very end, say all the destroyed of Israel.
All the destroyed of Israel.
All the destroyed of Israel.
Done.
Bashim Yahusha.
Bashim Yahusha.
The one among.
The one among.
The anointing prayer in the English. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Bless thee and keep thee.
Bless thee and keep thee.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Make his face shine upon thee.
Make his face shine upon thee.
And be gracious unto thee.
And be gracious unto thee.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Lift up his countenance upon thee.
Lift up his countenance upon thee.
And give thee peace.
And give thee peace.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahushua.
And now, sir.
Bless.
Bless.
Heal.
Heal.
Shield.
Shield.
Protect. The loved ones we just named.
The loved ones we just named. Sir. Let's return and face the teacher. Let's return.
You follow the orders.
Hey, be seated, sisters.
It's like call out sisters be seated.
Sisters, be seated. Men of Israel. I courteous salute to the teacher. Men of Israel. Amazon Shabbat. Amazon Barak. Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Rakatam.
Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Rakatam.
Yazamatan. Courteous salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Mount Shabbat, Amazon, Barak, Yahweh Shema, Bashim Yahushua. Yahweh, Shema, Alatan,
Hashem, Yahweh.
We said, Lord, if we could, otherwise.
It means, Lord or God, watch over thee in the name of Christ.
Yazamatan, class dismissed.
All right.
See how
I want to give. Can you give me a